Colts Broncos recap. The Colts beat the Broncos 12-9. One of the more low-scoring games in recent memory. Horrible outing. We wanted it to end. It did get great when it got later on into the game. And Drew, I know right now you are feeling a bit down about your Broncos. I saw your tweets. I'm not gonna lie that I cracked smiles while seeing it. Absolutely.
You guys are 2-2, right?
2-3.
2-3. But you know why? Is because it's funny. Drew in the offseason, I have quotes of what you guys have said. Drew in the offseason, when I doubted Russell Wilson, you know what he told me?
Let us know.
I'm glad Russell Wilson is the guy you are choosing to doubt. Said the same thing with Bobby Wagner. Both guys look washed. Weeks 1 through 4, every week when talking about Russ, overreacting, not just by Drew, but by you. Russ will figure it out. You said, I quote, overreacting like fuck. You're overreacting like fuck, bro. I said Russ has lost a step on the last episode or 2 football episodes ago. And Drew said, I'm literally watching the game and I have no idea what you're talking about.
I still firmly believe that one, though.
Last football episode, when I hyped up Geno, just 5 games. I guess he's better than Brady and Mahomes, bro. That's what Joel said to me.
You were bringing up stats.
You know, my analysis is unbiased. It truly is. It's a result of watching the film, and the film says Russell Wilson is washed. And that's what I've been saying. I see the comments. Don't worry, I peep it all. But the truth is, my track record, I hit a lot, man. Definitely, I'm like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, every time he goes up to bat, he doesn't hit home runs, but he's on pace to set records. I think he might have set a record already. I'm not too into baseball. I miss. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I swing and I hit. And like Joe said, some guys are just better at projecting than others. And Mr. Dehls, I'm that guy. I'm that guy, Dehls. Interception on the Colts 13-yard line, Russell Wilson. With 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. Threw it to Stephon Gilmore. Why? That man is still nice. Gilly man. I fuck with him. If it wasn't for that play, Broncos could have went up 12-6. Colts needed a touchdown. But because of that interception, Matt Ryan, as clutch as he is, one of the clutchest quarterbacks of all time, no debate. Let him down, kicked the field goal. Chase McLaughlin deserves a lot of credit. Overtime, 4th and 1. The Broncos opted to go for it. I thought it was the correct decision, no doubt. But I thought later in the game, the Broncos had the running game going a little bit. 4th and 1, I wouldn't have been opposed to running the football. Regardless, I know Richard Sherman had some horrible flashbacks with that play.
Tweaking.
But on that play, if you look, he doesn't pass it to the middle field much. And on that play, he passed it to Sutton. It was incomplete, not surprising. He's not good at those passes. But on the right side, rub route, pick route.
Why?
That was the read. KJ Hamler's wide open. Russ doesn't pass it. Now, last night, Russell Wilson went 0 for 6 on pass attempts to the end zone, including an interception. He is now 2 for 18 on pass attempts to the end zone this season. That 11% completion rate is the worst in the NFL. Broncos have just had 3 red zone touchdowns this season, fewest in the NFL, behind the Bears and the Panthers. They have converted on 23% of red zone drives, which is the worst by any team through 5 games since 2010. They're 30th in offensive EPA. Some will blame Hackett, but that's taking an easy way out. In the beginning, was Nathaniel Hackett the one to blame? Yes, but it wasn't because of his play calling. It was because of stupid decisions he would make, which he still makes. But since he's gotten that advisor, Jerry Roseberg, I believe, he's been quite good.
Cleaned it up.
The problem is Russell Wilson. He's not hitting reads. Nathaniel Hackett is not a genius. He's not a great play caller. He's good. He's average. He's an average play caller. And he's calling plays that should work against certain schemes and defenses, and Russell Wilson is failing to hit on those attempts. Russ wanted out of Seattle because he wanted to be more pass-heavy. He wanted to be like Mahomes, like Josh Allen. He wanted to be the guy. He wanted to have say in personnel decisions. But the truth is, Russell Wilson doesn't warrant that right now. And truthfully, I can't think of a time that he's ever warranted it, because at his very peak, he was never the undisputed leader or best player on a team that's made it far in the playoffs. He hasn't won a playoff game in 5 years, and he won a Super Bowl in 2013 when the Seahawks had a 52% rush rate, which is the most by any team in the last 10 years to win a Super Bowl. He got carried by a great rushing offense. In that playoff run, he had 3 touchdowns total through the air. All Pete Carroll wanted was a balanced offense. That's all he wanted. Russ said, no, I want to pass it every goddamn down. And that's where the friction started. And Russell Wilson is realizing that when I have to be the leader, when I don't have a great coach to rely on, because Pete Carroll deserves a lot of credit now that Russell Wilson's in Denver, and we see Seattle's doing pretty well, even with the lack of talent they have. Russ is noticing the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Will the Broncos figure it out? We'll talk about that shortly. But Russell Wilson has been bad. 22nd in QBR. Geno has been better. Was I high on Russell Wilson coming into the season? No. Did I think he'd be this bad? No. I feel horrible for you, Drew. There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite, and long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
Yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. Wow. I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday, Thursday.
Did you get your code? The League Pass?
I did get my code for League Pass. I
got my code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
Amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching.
Are you going to talk about the Colts or no?
Oh, we'll talk about them. I just want to talk about Russell Wilson first, and then we can talk about the Colts.
Floor is yours, my boy.
It was a rough Thursday night. I'll be completely transparent. The defense played well, like it's played well all season long. The Colts offense hasn't been great up until this point in the season, so it wasn't a surprise that our defense was locking up. With the injuries that we have, we put together a great performance defensively still. Offense, has been our issue all season long. And I made that video on Twitter at Handrew5As saying how my issue can't be with Hackett. It can't be with the offensive line. It can't be with the run game. That was poor against Indianapolis. I got to start blaming my quarterback, Russell Wilson. It's tough to sit here and say that because Russell Wilson for years has been one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. But right now, he's not it. He's holding the ball way too long. He's trying to be Mr. Perfect. That's the big issue right now. We had Slay on the show, and we were talking about the quarterbacks that take risks, and those are the guys that excel in this league. Herbert, Mahomes, Matthew Stafford. They take risks, and it pays off for them. Russ is holding the ball well too long, allowing the offensive line to collapse and allowing the defense to come in and make a play on Russ. Russ is trying to make the perfect play or the perfect pass way too often. Not hitting his first reads, which was very evident on the last play of the game where KJ Hamler was wide open. But that play really was transpiring very fast. If it's his first read, yes, you could make that throw. But it happened very quickly. KJ Hamler's a fast dude, so he made that break. He got open very quickly. Russ would have had to make the decision immediately. I don't know if he has a great rapport with KJ Hamler. We really haven't seen that up until this point in the season, but if that's not a guy that Russ trusts 100%, then I can understand not throwing it, but he was wide open. You have to make that play, especially if it's your first read. It's been embarrassing to watch. The red zone offense has been atrocious. Russ, even when he decided to take a couple risks against the Indianapolis Colts, they were poor ones. The first interception he threw was just absolutely terrible. Off his back foot, just kind of threw it into no man's land, and the safety made a play on it. The second INT I didn't hate too much. I just think that it was just he threw the ball behind the wide receiver. It was a bad pass. It was late. He could, if he led the receiver a little bit, maybe he has a touchdown there, but there's no reason to take that gamble there in that situation. You take the gamble early on in the game and actually try and move the ball downfield, not when you have a chance to put the game away. We had a 99% chance to win that game at one point in time and we lost. It shouldn't happen. So, yes, it is tough right now being a member of Broncos country.
Let's ride.
But
That's right.
I still have faith in my guys. I can't lose faith.
Define faith.
You're still making the playoffs, Faith.
Faith that we'll be okay in the future. That Russell
2023.
Russell Wilson's being on this team is not a bad thing at all. We paid him $245 million. People are very quick to say that that's a mistake,
That's
but
a lot of money.
we're 5 games in. It's a new offense. Russ is still getting acquainted. But, of course, I can still be optimistic about our future because we do have Russell Wilson. Right now, he's not been playing great. But I do believe he will play better.
Do you think it's been more mental for him?
I think that there is
Like
a
he's
lot
in
of
his
pressure.
own head?
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that to me because I have a big quarrel with people and their perceptions on Russell Wilson's character. And I'm not saying you particularly. It's a general sense that Russell is a fraudulent personality. And to me, that is baffling because how do you know who Russell Wilson is, the person, when you don't really know him at all? All you know of Russell Wilson is who he puts out in the pressers, in any type of interviews that he has, any videos that he puts on social media. From what he's shown you, what has led you to believe that he's not who he's always been?
He changes his voice in videos.
And so for that alone, you're automatically saying... Like,
I'm just saying.
It just sounds clownish
that's
to
a
me.
sign.
It just sounds clownish to me.
He changes his voice.
People were quick to bash on Russ. Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football was the first one. He called him a poser, I think.
That's the main reason why this thought process is occurring right now.
But that Kyle Brennan saying that, though, is from personal experience of when they went to an award ceremony and Russell Wilson acted like he was better than everybody else.
Russell Wilson didn't want to talk to this guy, so automatically he's assuming that he's better than everyone else.
No, it wasn't just that. It was the fact that he was at the award ceremony. Russ wasn't just
listened.
Russ
I understood what he was
Russ
saying.
wasn't just talking to him.
Kelsey went to stop for an interview. Someone else went to stop for an interview, and Russ kind of was just like, nah, man, I don't want to do that.
Russ didn't talk to anybody there.
Does he have to?
Like,
Not saying he has to, but you're
see,
acting
that's what
like,
I'm saying. It's like because you didn't want to do that personally,
Maybe
right?
he just wanted to be there with his
You're
wife
trying to
and his
chill with your
family.
family at an award show that maybe in the first place you didn't even want to be at, but you kind of just need to show face because you're Russell Wilson, of course. You want to go to an event, you don't want to talk to anyone. Maybe you chose the wrong day, right? Russ wasn't having the right type
Maybe
of
he
day.
just had a bad day, yeah.
It's like automatically we're making assumptions on Russ's character when we've never heard any of this for years on years. You just wait till he's at his lowest point. It's like you were waiting all this time to attack Russ's character until he gave you an opening to do so. You never had a chance, and now that Russ is playing poorly, everyone's deciding to take aim. That's my issue.
I
We
feel like he's
don't
been
know
attacked
Russ.
worse than this before, though.
We don't know Russ
Not like
personally.
this.
You're right.
Like his characters, really.
But
Remember the Seattle
from the
situation?
videos,
Like calling his character into question when
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just don't see it.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I know where you're coming from, but based on the videos that Russell Wilson has put out on social media, the way he changes his voice when he was like playing card or
It was just that one video, though.
Yeah, but there's others that have aired.
But that's fine. We do the same. The way I talk to my boss is different how I talk to you guys. Like that, you have to change how you talk.
Is
and
that
your-
not facts?
It's not only that.
don't
It's
know.
When
not
I'm
only
at
that.
school, I promise you, I am not communicating the way
No,
that I'm
hell
talking
no.
on the
It's
show.
it's not only that though.
It
It's
must be raw. 'cause
based
I
on
do.
the evidence and the videos
That's
that we
real.
have that has surfaced of Russ, and based on things that he has talked about in the past, one can make a reasonable assumption that he is kind of a poser. It's not. I don't think it's far fetched, and it's not only the public perception of him. People that played with him on a Legion of Boom don't fucking like him. Richard Sherman does not like
That
him.
has
But
nothing to do with Russell's
So he
personality.
basically has a work personality and a home personality.
Richard
The
Sherman doesn't
Seahawks-
like him because he got treated differently.
Yeah, that's really
not
the
his
reason
fault.
why.
That has
That's-
nothing to do with
that's
Russ.
That's not why he doesn't like him entirely. And even when they used to practice together, Richard Sherman used to get into it with Russell Wilson and call him the B word. He used to go after Russ.
Trying not to be wood.
Doug Baldwin, who was Russ's primary target for a lot of years, he's been vocal about not really having the tightest relationship and not really liking Russ. Everybody that was on those teams really are not fans of Russ, and they talk poorly about him.
What about
we
DK?
saw that's one. I'm not saying everybody doesn't like him,
Tyler
but
Lockett.
I don't think it's crazy to assume that he is a poser based off what people who have played with him have said. And if you look at how the Seattle tenure ended, Seattle got sick of Russ's shit. They got sick of Russell Wilson. That's why they traded him.
They were rebuilding. Their team wasn't ready to
They
compete.
weren't rebuilding. They
Yes,
would
look at that team, bro. They're ready to rebuild.
If they really wanted to keep Russell Wilson, they would have kept him. But they knew he was declining, so they sold high. And ultimately, they were sick of Russell Wilson.
But what's showing you that he was declining prior to these 5 games? What showed you he was declining, truthfully, in your honest opinion?
He didn't play great to this in the second half of the season with Seattle.
After he returned from injury.
After the stomach
Before injury, he
didn't
looked
play.
really good.
Yeah, but he
He was
didn't play
regular
well
Russ.
after that. And it's a couple things. Russell Wilson holds on to the ball. It's not just a now thing. It's a him thing. That's what he's always been. In order for Russell Wilson to succeed in today's current NFL and how he's had so much success, he's had to become the most accurate deep ball thrower in almost league history. And he became that. But as he's declining, his athleticism, his scrambling ability isn't what it once was. That's a fact. He holds on to the ball. He doesn't throw to the middle of the field. That was prevalent in Seattle. It limits your offense. And with a quarterback that's 5'10", that relied heavily on his athleticism to make plays out of the pocket, as you get older, he's not going to age like these other pure pocket quarterbacks.
I think, first of all, the Russell Wilson that we saw in Seattle, not even just last year, but prime Russ, I don't know if we're going to see him again. Right now, I don't know. You can make it the offense, new situation. He looks uncomfortable, unsure of himself, unsure of his reads, and just making boneheaded decisions that we have not seen Russell Wilson really ever make in his entire career until now, until he's come to Denver. And you hit on Joel. I think the two things that made Russ special while he was in Seattle was his ability to make something out of nothing, specifically in the pocket, almost Kyler Murray-esque, being able to get in and out of the pocket, not as much being able to run the ball down the field like we see with Lamar and Josh Allen, but just having a ton of creativity inside and outside the pocket to hit those deep balls. So that was one. And number two, as you mentioned, being one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL. And that's steadily declined over the last 3 years. 2019, I want to say, was his last elite year, and he might have been top 5 or even number 1 in the league in 20-plus yard passes. This year is completing just 35% of those passes, and that number has declined, like I mentioned, over the previous 3 years. I don't think this is the be-all, end-all for Russell Wilson. He's going to have to change his game. I have faith in him because he has shown throughout the years his dedication to the game, to studying, to his body. That's why I'm not ready to just say he's completely washed. Like Big Ben, for example, we saw how washed he was.
Cooked.
Some of that was just through age and his physical body failing him. But we also know Big Ben wasn't the most, he's not Tom Brady in terms of eating avocado ice cream